All right, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together. You know him from Pulse Beat TV, from Michigan Chronicle. He is a stalwart. He is an icon in Detroit community. Mr. Greg Dunmore.
You know, I like the way icon sounds, but I don't know about icon. I know about tall, but not icon. Okay. When I was a little boy, and this goes back some years, I can remember at night tossing and turning and tossing and turning. And what I was turning was the knob to what used to be called a transistor radio. And the reason I was turning was because at that particular time in my life, now I didn't buy records, but I was in love with one particular singer. And this one particular singer was very popular at this particular point in time and still is. But this singer touched my soul in a way that when I was very young, I would search from channel, station to station, seeing, hearing, if I could connect with one of her songs. The singer, Aretha Franklin, the Queen of Soul. Now, I was very young at that time, and I realized that her lyrics were very profound and they were deep, but I was too young to really understand exactly what she was singing about. But I was still old enough, and I think it's an ageless thing when the voice, because you know the voice does something to you. It's like the soothing sound of a mother, where as a baby you may not understand what the mother is saying, but it's the tone that touches the soul and the heart. So Aretha had that influence on me when I was very, very young. I would search, as I said before, the various stations, CKLW, WCHB. This was before FM. This was such a long time ago, it was BC actually. Now, BC, that's before computers and before crack. So that was a long, long time ago. A long time ago, BC. But as I said before, the voice of Aretha, our Queen of Soul, touched me in a way that it's just hard for me to explain what it did. It was, like I said, a mother's soothing voice to where it inspired me. It touched me in a place that was just so deep that words can't really express how I felt at that very, very young age. And I remember thinking, if I could just meet Aretha, if I could just meet her. And I remember I'm a little boy at this time. So I'm thinking, what could I do to show her, if I ever get a chance to meet her, the sort of love that I have for the great Aretha. I said, oh, I know what I'll do. And I remember thinking, I was in my bed and I said, oh, what I'll do is I will kiss her feet if I ever meet her. I'll kiss her feet. I'll go real low, Aretha, and just kiss the feet. And that would be a way of letting her know that I really liked her. Really, really liked her. Right now, remember I was young, so I didn't go to that other place in terms of what kissing feet might mean to those of you who might be into kissing feet. But being very young, that was a sweet way of me acknowledging, a sincere way of acknowledging my love for Aretha Franklin, our Queen of Soul. So anyway, as I journeyed many different directions, one direction that I journeyed was a musical direction. I should add that my mother, who is a singer, her name is Jo Thompson, and she plays the piano and sings, and she's traveled here and there, and I've been connected to her career. So as I was traveling this journey, as I said before, having been inspired by the great voice of Aretha and what it did to me, what it allowed me to do in terms of the power of when a voice will touch your soul and it inspires you and it allows you to do things sometimes that you don't think you can really do. But I do remember that there was a glorious moment where my mother performed at the place that they say you only get to because of practice, practice, practice. That was Carnegie Hall. So my mother had a chance to perform there. She did a benefit, actually, for my father, whose name was Al Dunmore, and it was presented by Lionel Hampton, and it was a wonderful event in New York, and my mother did her thing, you know, so I felt that, wow, this is really a moment in this journey that I've traveled that is extra special. So after doing the show in New York, I came back to Detroit, and I was writing too. I've done many things. I was writing for the Michigan Chronicle, and I remember, and ironically, the editor at that time, when I was writing for the Michigan Chronicle, her name is Aretha, last name Watkins. So in this journey of being so busy doing what I did in New York, I was a little late following a story, and that's what we say when we're writing a story and when we're submitting the story. So I was late in following a story. So I was in my apartment, in my very junky apartment in Detroit, and I was thinking, now, you know, I've done this thing in New York and this whole illusion and the glamour, the excitement. I was so proud of my mother's shinings. And I was late following a story. So the phone rings, and as I said, my editor, Aretha Watkins, one thing she didn't like was for me to be late turning in a story. So anyway, the phone rings and it's, hi, this is Aretha, and I'm thinking, now what lie am I going to tell her about following this story late? And she said, you know, I'm really proud of what your mother has done, and I would like to present her in concert. And I thought, wait a second, this is not Aretha Watkins. This is Aretha Franklin. It was Aretha Franklin that was calling me to acknowledge the fact that she had read about my mother doing this thing in New York, and she wanted to present her in concert. Now, I'll tell you that I never thought during that time when I was tossing and turning and so young, so attracted to the sound of this woman's voice, that one day she would be calling me on the phone, acknowledging something that was so close to me. I never thought that would happen, but it did. And when I realized that it was Aretha on the phone, I was like, oh, well, yes, that would be possible. And then we got a little comfortable, and we started talking back and forth. And, you know, I can be long-winded, and I thought, now, you know, I am taking up so much of this lady's time that I've got to now give her an out for me talking so long to her. So I said, well, you know, Aretha, I've got to go now. And she said, oh, I was so enjoying this conversation with you. And I said, well, you know, I got to go. And then when I hung the phone up, I said, oh, dang. I didn't say dang, I said something else, but I thought, she said I was enjoying the conversation, and I basically cut it off. But that was because I was nervous, I was in awe, and it was a moment. And so sometimes when we have these moments, you know, we do what we have to do. And sometimes it's embarrassing when we do what we do. So anyway, I cut her off. But anyway, so she invited my mother to perform in a concert at her home in Bloomfield Hills. And that was my very first time having a chance to meet Aretha. Now, I remember going into her home, and then I see her in her regal, rural, magnificent self, and she's standing in the entrance of her mansion. And when I go up to her, and I'm looking at the feet, you know, so I'm looking at the feet. I got a flashback. So I was looking at the feet, but see, at this point, I was old enough to understand that was going to take it in another direction. But I remember looking at Aretha, and she said, Gregory, it is so nice to finally get a chance to meet you. And I said, I was chattering I said, yeah. I mean, literally, I was shaking and my teeth were chattering. It's nice to meet you too. It's nice to meet you too. It's an honor to meet you, Miss Franklin. And then she told me, she said, oh, you may call me Aretha. I said, it's nice meeting you too, Miss Franklin Aretha. And my mother did her show, and Aretha was very nice, and we had a chance to get to know each other after that, and there are many occasions that I've had a chance to now interact with Aretha. I talked to her on the phone, and I consider her to be a friend of mine. And I'll tell you that something that really touched my heart that happened not that long ago. I got a text, and it was one of those days where it was kind of gloomy. You know, those gloomy days where you need something to pick you up. And sometimes it comes from places that are unexpected, like a cell phone and a text. And I got this text, and it said, thank you for being a friend. Thank you for being a good friend. And it was signed Aretha. And I got that flashback to when I was tossing and turning and just being so attracted to the sound of this lady's voice, not really understanding the lyrics at that point, but the voice touched my soul in a way that it was so extra special. Once again, I can't put it in words. And now, on this journey, having Aretha to acknowledge my mother, for me to be in her home with those chattering teeth, so excited and so awestruck by this woman whose voice is a blessing from God above, to, on that gloomy day where I needed something to uplift my spirit, I get a text thanking me for being a friend. And I knew at that point, you know, they say dreams do come true. And so often, especially during these dark days where dreams don't always seem to come true quick enough. But I reflect on our Queen of Soul, from tossing and turning to having had an opportunity to interact with her, to her calling me a friend, and me calling her a friend. And when we talk about transformation and going from one point to the next, I understood that there is value in a whole lot of things, but there's nothing that has more value than someone that you truly love calling you a friend.
Respect.